Elena wore a plain white t-shirt, faded jeans, and an old pair of canvas shoes as she stepped into Alara Crown Mall, the city's most luxurious shopping destination. Amidst customers carrying Hermes bags and wearing Patek Philippe watches, she looked out of place like some kind of foreign object. She stopped in front of the Monique jewelry boutique, where a sapphire necklace, currently the talk of the high society, was on display. Before she could even lay eyes on the piece, a female staff member approached with a look of contempt. "Sorry, we don't allow walk-ins to try on items without an appointment or proof of financial standing." Elena simply gave a soft smile. "I never said I needed to try it on." Elena was still standing silently in front of the display case when the sharp clack of high heels echoed behind her. "Oh my God! Look, isn't that Elena?" She turned around. A woman in a fiery red bodycon dress strode up, her sleek curls bouncing with each step, a Chanel bag slung diagonally over her shoulder. Beside her walked two equally glamorous friends. It was Maya Tran, a former classmate from university, the one who used to call Elena the scentless shadow because she rarely spoke to anyone and always wore cheap clothes. Maya recognized her immediately, not out of nostalgia, but because Elena still looked just as simple as she used to. "Oh dear Lord, I thought you were part of the janitorial staff." Maya burst out laughing. "Didn't expect it to be Elena, our bookworm friend who used to eat instant noodles in the library." The two women flanking Maya giggled. One of them pulled down her sunglasses, glancing at Elena from head to toe. "She's dressed like that," and walked into Monique. "Maybe she thinks this is a charity pop-up." Elena didn't move. She smiled softly, saying nothing. Her hand rested lightly on the glass above the sapphire necklace worth more than $45,000. Maya tilted her head, smirking. "You planning to buy that? Or you just came in for fun? Gonna take a picture and post it with a caption like, 'My dream one day'?" "Right." Elena looked up at Maya, deep brown eyes still and calm like an unshaken lake. "No, I'm seriously considering it." Her response silenced the three women for a beat before they all burst into laughter as if they just watched a comedy skit. A staff member from Monique, who had been discreetly listening nearby, stepped forward, her voice polite yet laced with implication. "Ma'am, that piece is not for casual viewing. If you'd like the exact price, we can provide it, but I'm afraid we don't allow try-ons without an appointment or a card on file." Maya leaned in. You heard her. "Elena. This isn't some outlet discount store. Can't believe you even walked in dressed like that." One of her friends shot a glance at Elena's worn canvas shoes and whispered under her breath, "At first I thought she worked in the restroom." The group burst out laughing again. This time other shoppers nearby began to take notice. A few slowed down, casting curious and entertained looks at Elena, as though watching a public spectacle unfold. But Elena didn't flinch. She merely looked at her former classmates, then turned back to the display case. "How long in advance would I need to place an order for this piece?" This time her question wasn't for Maya, but for the staff member. The employee hesitated for a moment, her eyes flickering with uncertainty before regaining composure. "With this price, ma'am, customers are required to transfer a 50% deposit, at least $23,000, so we can order the limited edition directly from Italy." Maya scoffed. "Elena, don't bother asking. That's like a semester's tuition." But Elena kept smiling. No anger, no avoidance, not even a furrowed brow. And just as Maya thought her old classmate would bow her head and walk away, Elena pulled out her phone. "I'll make a quick call. Thank you." Then came just 4 words, gentle but sharp as a blade. "Hi, love. I'm upstairs at Monique." Elena had just ended her call and slipped her phone into the pocket of her jeans when the Monique staff member, the one who had looked at her so condescendingly, curled her lip and stepped closer. Her voice was syrupy, but her eyes were laced with challenge. "Call your husband to come and buy it for you. It happens a lot around here, you know, women trying that trick. I hope you understand. If we need to verify more carefully." Maya burst into laughter at that. "Oh, Elena, you are still as cute as ever. Just like in college, always pretending to be calm and philosophical. But what did that get you? Still the girl who borrowed outfits to attend job interviews." One of Maya's 2 friends scrolled through her phone, chuckled and nudged Maya's shoulder. "Should we record this perfect story for tonight's alumni party?" Elena remained still, No steps backward. No reaction. The store clerk gave a subtle nod to a nearby colleague, then turned back with a fake, overly sweet smile. So, you want to place a deposit, right? Could I see your card or proof of transfer? Because you understand we cannot hold an item like this based on just someone's word. Her tone was like a velvet-wrapped kick. Elena looked straight at her, not with anger, but like a mirror quietly reflecting how she was being treated. You are right. Every word does require proof, especially when spoken without respect. In the corner of the boutique, a younger male employee in a black uniform subtly pulled out his phone and panned the camera toward Elena and Maya's group. A text popped up on his screen. Fake it till you make it. Live scene. Jeans girl is trying to buy the $45K sapphire necklace, perfect clip, for the staff group. Almost instantly, the short clip of Elena, standing quietly at the counter, was shared in the second floor. Staff group chat of the mall, entertainment corner, dreamy walk-in customer, plus loud high school reunion, vibes equals hilarious chaos. Across the aisle, staff from nearby accessory, watch and handbag counters began passing the clip around, reacting with crying, laughing emojis. Look at her face, still so calm, it's scary. Trying to cosplay as a broke queen, gonna go viral on TikTok by tomorrow for sure. Meanwhile, Maya sat down on a velvet chair behind her, crossing her legs, lifting a ruby bracelet and pretending to try it on. Elena, I'm not saying you're poor, but there are places where we should know whether we belong. That's called self-respect. One of her friends chimed in, and pretending to stay calm like that. What for? No one here actually believes it. Elena said nothing. She took a quiet step closer to the sapphire necklace, the one she still had not touched. Her fingers brushed gently against the glass. I do not need anyone to believe. I just need the truth. Maya leaned her head back in the chair and laughed like she was watching a dramatic play. Should we call security? Save her from further embarrassment. But what they did not know, embarrassment was not something Elena feared. She simply said, her voice calm, almost cold, if you plan to stay here, you had better start preparing your apologies because he is on his way. And from the far glass entrance, light shimmered across the frosted panels. The shadow of a group dressed in black was approaching. The atmosphere inside the Monique boutique was frozen. What had begun as discreet giggles from Maya and her friends had now turned into a full-blown public mockery. Elena remained where she was, her brown eyes unwavering, one hand resting gently on the glass display, as if she stood at the eye of a storm. And yet her soul was eerily still. But those around her had no intention of letting her be. Maya stood up and circled Elena slowly, as if appraising a museum piece, her gaze sharp and cold as steel. I'm really curious. How did you even walk in here dressed like this? Faded jeans, worn canvas shoes, your hair tied up like a freshman. Do you think this is the breakfast hall of our old student dorm or something? One of her friends chimed in mockingly. Maybe she's doing one of those undercover poverty vlogs. Social YouTubers do that a lot now. Over at the counter, two staff members pretended to sort through paperwork, but their ears were perked up. Their eyes barely hid their amusement. One whispered, "The clip's blowing up." Everyone on the second floor is watching security just shared it too. Said, "High potential client making waves." What a joke. Elena heard every word. She could have walked away. She could have fought back, but she chose neither. She chose to stay, because people like Maya were always waiting for her to react, so they could say she was too sensitive or too weak. Maya was now standing close, her voice lowered, but dripping with venom. You know why no one remembered your name back in school? Elena, because you were so dull, so forgettable, and you still are. Don't think you can reinvent yourself with some fancy sapphire necklace. Status doesn't come with a fake, confident stare. Elena looked up. For the first time, her gaze wavered, not from hurt, but from memory. Because Maya had said those exact words years ago, when Elena showed up at a seminar in a cheap rental dress, yet still dared to sit in the front row. If it's not meant for you, the world will push you back. That day, Elena had smiled, and today she smiled again. You're right, Elena said softly but clearly. There are things confidence can't buy, but there are also things no one can take from you, even when you have nothing. Then came the sound of footsteps at the front entrance. Steady, slow, unmistakable. No one turned around immediately. They were still absorbed in the unfolding drama, until one store employee froze. Whispering under her breath, "Lucian Blake." The entire boutique fell into stunned silence. Maya stiffened. One of her friends audibly swallowed. Another staff member dropped the gemstone sample board she had been holding. Elena didn't turn around. She simply stood still and closed her eyes for a brief moment. The storm had arrived. Footsteps echoed slowly. Lucian Blake, CEO of Alara Crown Mall, the true owner of the glass tower worth over $500 million. He stepped in with a piercing gaze. No one in the store could utter a word. No one understood what was happening. Lucian wore a charcoal gray suit, a white shirt, a loosened tie around his neck, as if he had just come straight from an emergency meeting. With every step he took, the boutique staff instinctively straightened their backs and bowed slightly. None of them expected that the most powerful man in the entire shopping complex would show up, all because of a single phone call. Lucian said nothing. He walked straight to Elena, stopped in front of her, looked at no one else. Then, as gently as a breeze, he reached out and tucked a strand of hair behind his wife's cheek. "I'm here." Elena remained where she was. No explanation, no need for words. She simply nodded, smiled softly. A smile that made Maya's entire group fall silent. Maya felt a chill run down her spine. She stepped back half a pace. Her hand gripped the strap of her Chanel bag tightly. "Wait, what is this?" One of her friends, now pale, lowered her head and whispered, "Maya, I think she's..." Lucian turned. Only then did he glance at Maya. His eyes passed over her like she was a shadow, unworthy of attention. "Did someone here insult my wife?" The question was as soft as breath, but the temperature in the store dropped below freezing. No one answered, only darting glances, tightened throats, and a world collapsing beneath Maya's high heels. The Monique staff member, the one who mocked Elena earlier, turned pale and bowed deeply. "Sir, we didn't know. She was your wife." Lucian smiled faintly, but there was no joy in it. "You don't need to know. But the way you treat anyone poorly is enough reason to lose your job." There was no need to shout, no need to raise his voice, just his presence. And Elena's silence was enough to bring the entire luxury mall to a standstill. Maya tried to say something, but her throat was dry and bitter. Elena turned to look at her. No anger, no hatred. Only the gaze of someone who had risen far beyond anything Maya had ever dared to dream. "You once told me I didn't belong here, but the truth is, Maya, I don't just belong here, I own it." That sentence, spoken softly without drama, made Maya collapse into her seat. There was no need for proof anymore. The truth was standing right in front of her. The moment Lucian Blake placed his hand on Elena's shoulder and said 3 words, "She is my wife," everything collapsed in a single beat, not just inside the Monique boutique, but across the entire second floor of Alara Crown Mall, where the joke had been passed around through dozens of phones, messages, images, mocking emojis, all sudden turned into evidence. Ting. In the internal group chat named Alara Zone 2, Happy Vibes, only a new message appeared from the account: "Admin HR, cease all video sharing involving customers. All content recorded at the Monique store will be forwarded to legal and the executive director. All personnel involved are required to prepare written reports." The air inside the mall felt stripped of oxygen. At the handbag counter next to Monique, an employee who had been giggling moments ago now turned pale, quickly stuffing her phone into her pocket like hiding a weapon. At the watch display, a young male staff member trembled and dropped his iPad. It had been playing a mocking clip of Elena. His face was ghost white. Inside Monique itself, the female staff member who had been politely fake was now genuinely shaking. She lowered her head and whispered, I only recorded a bit because I thought..." Lucian looked her straight in the eye. "Because you thought she was poor, didn't you? So you assumed hurting someone was an acceptable joke." She was speechless. A middle manager came rushing in, sweat pouring down his face. "We're sorry, Mr. Lucian. We will discipline all involved staff. This was an unfortunate oversight." Lucian waved him off. "It's not an oversight. It's a culture. And starting today, the entire second floor will undergo a full review of professional conduct. From staff to management. If someone lacks basic decency, They won't be here anymore. Behind them, Maya, no longer able to stand up straight, gripped her phone tightly trying to delete the video from her gallery, but it was too late. That video had become the most vivid lesson on arrogance. Elena remained silent. She did not demand anyone be fired. She did not ask for an apology. She didn't need to Lucian's presence, the changing faces of those around her, the way their eyes now dropped to the stone floor. That was enough. Elsewhere, another staff member quietly pulled his phone from his pocket. He reopened the video he had once proudly shared in the group chat. He held down on it. Tapped delete permanently. Then he removed his name tag from his uniform and placed it on the counter. No one had to tell him to. Inside, Monique. Elena turned to Lucian and said softly, "You didn't have to make a scene." Lucian gently squeezed her hand. "It's not for you. It's for them to understand. No one has the right to humiliate others just because of appearances." That day on the second floor of Alara, an entire silent system built on belittling the powerless, collapsed in a single afternoon before Lucian arrived, before the eyes began to drop, and before apologies could even form into words. It all started with a single quiet phone call. In a quiet corner of the Monique boutique, where light angled softly across the glass counter, Elena had gently taken out her phone and dialed a familiar number. No one noticed it. Maya and her friends were too busy mocking her. No one paid attention to the calm, low voice on the other end of the line. "I'm here." Elena gave only one reply. "I'm on the second floor, Monique." No further words, no explanation, no complaints. On the other end, Lucian. At that moment, he was on the 29th floor of the corporate headquarters. He rose from his chair mid-meeting, leaving behind a circle of assistants presenting financial reports. The meeting is over. There's something more important that needs to be handled now. He didn't ask what happened. He didn't need to. Just hearing Elena's voice was enough for him to know something was wrong. As he entered the car, Elara's top-level security protocol was activated. A chain of internal calls launched immediately. Activate internal code. G1 CEO is en route to the second floor. Freeze all live stream camera activity on the second floor for 30 minutes. Lock all content moderator accounts in the internal group chats immediately. On the way to the mall, Lucian skimmed a live security briefing. One line stood out. Some staff on the second floor are circulating a video mocking a customer, potential link to executive family member. He said nothing. He simply typed 3 words on his tablet. Handle it completely. When he entered Alara Crown Mall, Lucian didn't use the VIP entrance. He didn't call for bodyguards. He wanted to witness it himself, not through soundproof glass, not filtered. And in that moment, when he saw Elena standing there, in the middle of a luxurious store, surrounded by mocking stares, something within him surged like a crashing wave. But Elena, she was still standing tall. Without a tremble, she didn't need saving. She had only called to let him know she had endured enough to Lucian. Elena was not just a wife. She was the reason he left behind the suffocating world of corporate empires. She was the woman who had once turned down 3 engagement rings, who lived simply with a few $100 purse, who once taught him manners are how true wealth treats others. So, with just one phone call, no shouting, no fury, the most powerful system in the city paused and reflected on itself. Inside Monique, when Lucian stood in front of Elena, his gaze softened. There was no stage, no performance, only a husband, listening to the unspoken signal of his wife and choosing without hesitation to stand with her completely. The air inside the Monique boutique grew thick. Every eye turned to Lucian Blake, the man everyone knew as the supreme CEO of Alara Crown Mall. But no one had ever seen him appear like this. No announcement, no bodyguards, no display. Just a husband holding his wife's hand in the middle of a storm of prejudice. Lucian looked around, at every staff member, at each of Elena's old acquaintances, at the confused customers. No one dared to breathe too loudly. He spoke in a low voice, but every word seemed to strike the marble floor like a stone. Starting today, Elena will review all personnel activity on the second floor. Anyone who lacks the integrity to serve customers, regardless of what they wear, will no longer be allowed to stand here. A middle manager from Monique stepped forward trembling. "Sir, Miss Elena is... Lucian turned to him, his gaze sharp as a blade. She is the one who invested to acquire executive control of this entire level 3 months ago. She is the person I trust more than any advisor in the corporation. And she is my wife. A dead silence spread through the boutique. Maya turned pale. She stepped back half a pace, her mouth slightly open but unable to produce sound. One of her 2 friends whispered in panic, "She's a co-owner of this place." Elena remained still, as if every mocking word they had said never touched her. She did not seek revenge. She did not issue commands. She simply turned to Maya, her gaze light as air, but sharper than a knife. "I never tried to pretend I was someone else. It's just, none of you ever imagined who I truly was." Lucian stepped forward, his voice like ice. "I don't care if you were classmates or how long you've known each other, but from the moment you laughed at this woman, you erased yourselves from any future at Alara." Another manager from the nearby handbag counter rushed over. "Shaking sir, I'm sorry. I watched the clip, but..." Lucian raised his hand, cutting him off. "No need to explain. Submit your resignation before the end of the day. Otherwise, I'll publish an internal notice with your names on it." Maya's entire group, who had once laughed so confidently, now stood with heads bowed like school children caught in the middle of assembly. They could not even look at Elena, the woman they had treated as a joke. Just 15 minutes earlier, a male staff member tried to speak. We didn't know who she was." Elena finally spoke, clearly. "For a moment, let's say I wasn't anyone. Would I still deserve respect? Just because I'm human?" The question left the store in silence no one could answer, because they all knew. Their mistake wasn't that she was the CEO's wife. It was assuming that someone not dressed in luxury had no worth. Lucian turned to Elena and offered his hand. "Shall we go?" Elena nodded softly. There were no roses, no fireworks, just a girl in a white t-shirt, holding the hand of her husband, walking out of the very place that once humiliated her. With the posture of someone who made the entire mall bow its head, Elena and Lucian had left the Monique boutique. They did not look back, but behind them, everything was falling apart. In the internal group chat, Ilara crowned Zone 2. A series of new announcements was sent out by the management system, notice of personnel reassignment. The following individuals will be temporarily suspended, pending an investigation into conduct and workplace culture: Monique Manager, Ms. Leanne, Sales Associate T, Min Consultant K, Tram. The entire second-floor security supervision's team attached was a note. Any behavior involving mockery, secret recording, or distribution of customer images for internal entertainment purposes will be dealt with at the highest level of disciplinary action. Maya received a private message on her phone. It was from the real estate company where she worked as a senior sales associate. Notice the collaboration contract with Ms. Maya Tran is temporarily suspended due to involvement in an ongoing ethics scandal. You are no longer authorized to represent any brand under the WSG group, effective immediately. She sat, frozen. Her Chanel handbag slid off the chair. She had no strength left to react. One of her 2 friends quickly opened TikTok. The video mocking Elena had already been re-edited, but this time it read, "The girl in the white t-shirt." A lesson for those too quick to judge. Comments beneath had taken a complete turn. "This is amazing. A real reversal. First time I've seen a woman outplay an entire shopping center." Sharing this with my friend who always mocks people for being poor. Elena is the kind of woman we should all learn from. No. Shouting, just pure presence. Monique's stock value took a hit that very afternoon. A new hashtag began trending, respect before, receipt respect, before asking for someone's wallet. In another corner of the mall, the first person who filmed the clip, a young staff member named H, quietly submitted his resignation. He sat down and handwrote a letter of apology, which he left on the manager's desk with a final trembling line. "I never thought a joke could hurt someone that much, and I never imagined that the person we mocked was the very one we should have been learning from all along." And Maya. She sat in a daze at a tea shop on the lower floor, eyes fixed on a cup of mint milk tea. The only sweet thing left in her day, "How can I ever face anyone again?" she whispered, but no one answered, because the only person she once looked down on had already risen to a higher floor. Within Alara's operations system, the final email of the day was sent. The new Director of Service Quality for the second floor will be Mrs. Elena Blake. All personnel, changes, customer policy revisions, and retraining requirements will be subject to her direct approval. A woman who was once dismissed for dressing simply is now the one who decides who is worthy of staying in the city's most luxurious space. That day, after everything had calmed down, Elena walked slowly along the glass corridor on the highest floor of Alara Crown Mall. The late afternoon sun stretched long shadows through the transparent walls. There were no more contemptuous glances, no more whispers, no mocking smiles, only quiet respect. And the silence of remorse. A group of young staff walked past and bowed slightly. A regional manager stepped forward to open the glass door and bowed. "Good afternoon, Director Elena." Elena simply smiled gently, a calm smile, not one of pride. In the executive meeting room, Lucian summoned the entire second-floor management team. He did not say much. He stood next to Elena, looking toward those who once believed that an old t-shirt was a sign of being unworthy. "My wife needed no one to defend her today. She is strong enough to stand alone. But I am here to remind all of you that power does not lie in a shareholder list. It lies in how you treat someone you believe is nobody." Elena stepped up to the podium and looked at them all. "I was belittled. Just because I wasn't wearing luxury brands, I stayed silent in that moment. Not because I was weak, but because I wanted to let you reveal yourselves. And you did exactly that." She pulled a folded piece of paper from the pocket of her t-shirt, an old receipt from the Monique store. The faded words read, "Not suitable for trying items." Elena held it up, her voice lowered. "I will keep this paper, not for resentment, but to remind myself that true elegance does not come from what you wear. It comes from what you never let go of. Dignity." The entire room was silent. No one dared to laugh. No one dared to applaud. Only silence remained, like a ceremony of collective repentance. Lucian looked at Elena, his eyes soft. "Alara Crown Mall will apply a new policy from today. Every customer, no matter what they wear, where they go, or where they come from, deserves to be welcomed like family, and the one who will oversee this policy is the very woman you once refused to serve." After the meeting, Elena descended into the main hall where hundreds had gathered, quietly waiting for rumors to unfold. She did not need to say anything, but just as she stepped past the front doors, she paused, turned around. Her gaze was light as a cloud, but her voice rose loud enough to be heard across every floor. "Next time, if someone walks in here wearing frayed shoes and an old t-shirt, don't ask how much money they have. Ask yourself, am I worthy of serving them?" The glass doors opened automatically. Elena stepped into the afternoon sun. Her white t-shirt fluttered gently in the breeze. No silk gown, no crown. But that day, the entire shopping center knelt before the worth of a single human being.